So that basically means today's news is hot. And honestly, it's the perfect way to kick off what we're talking about today. The really complex, intense stories shaping Nigeria right now. So let's dive right in. So what we're looking at here is what we're calling Nigeria's daily pulse. And you'll see it's a nation that feels like it's being pulled in two completely different directions. On one hand, you have these immediate life and death crises happening on the ground. And on the other, you've got these huge, ambitious dreams for the future. So we're going to break this down into two parts. First, we'll look at the human cost, the daily struggles, and then we'll pivot to that national ambition we just mentioned.
All right, let's start with those stark realities. Part 1, the human cost. We're talking about the immediate life and death struggles people are facing every single day.
Okay, so our first story takes us to the northeast. The source material puts it this way: hunger dey bite like lion. Hunger is biting like a lion. And that really paints a picture of this devastating food crisis that's just spiraling. And the scale of this, I mean, it's just staggering. We're talking about 31 million people. 31 million. That's more than the entire population of many countries. It's one of the highest numbers for food insecurity anywhere in the world. It's hard to even wrap your head around. And this is where it gets truly gut-wrenching. The focus shifts to the most vulnerable, the children. We're looking at 600,000 kids under 5 years old whose lives are literally on the line. The warning is stark. If help doesn't get there, they could die this year. So you have to ask, how did it get this bad? Well, it's not one single thing. It's really a perfect storm of factors. You've got the Boko Haram conflict, which means farmers can't even get to their fields to plant. You have climate change destroying the farmland that's left. Then, a huge blow, international aid gets cut, and boom, over 150 nutrition centers have to shut down. And all of this is happening against a backdrop of what the sources call government inaction. But the human cost isn't just about hunger. Let's shift our focus to the waterways in Niger State. What happened here was a terrible tragedy. But what's worse is that it was completely preventable, and it points to a much bigger recurring problem. Just look at the numbers. They're devastating. One boat, over 100 people on board. It goes down, and more than 60 people die, most of them women and children. This wasn't some random act of nature. This was, sadly, an accident just waiting to happen. And that's the key thing here. This wasn't a one-off. It's part of this tragic, predictable cycle. Step 1, an overloaded, unsafe boat sets off. Step 2, it capsizes. Step 3, the government promises action. They launch campaigns. But step 4, the root problems are never really fixed. And so, the same heartbreaking story just keeps repeating itself, year after year. All right, for our last story in this section, we're going to the front lines, to the Sambisa forest. Because, this is the conflict that's really the engine behind so many of the other crises we've been talking about. And make no mistake, the military is fighting back. They're seeing some real tactical wins. You have an airstrike taking out more than 15 insurgents, troops fighting off an attack on a humanitarian convoy. So on the battlefield, you can point to genuine progress. But, and this is a big but, this is where things get way more complicated. There's this crucial insight from the source material that says, bullet alone no fit end insurgency. In other words, bullets alone can't end this. And that's such a powerful point, right? It's admitting that while the fighting is necessary, it's not the whole answer. To get to real, lasting peace, you have to go deeper and tackle the root causes, things like poverty and governance. Okay, so let's completely shift gears now. We've talked about the immediate crises. Now let's move to part 2, the national ambition. This is where we're going to look at the huge, forward-thinking projects, the big dreams that are shaping how the country sees its own future. And speaking of ambitious, it doesn't get much bigger than this. Nigeria has officially put in a bid to host the 2030 Commonwealth Games. Think about that. If they get it, it would be the first time ever for an African nation. A massive moment of national pride, a chance to shine on the world stage. And this right here, this perfectly captures the central tension we're talking about today. On one side, you've got this incredible dream, hosting the world, making history. But on the other side, you have the harsh reality, the insecurity, the hunger crisis we just talked about, massive gaps in infrastructure. So the big question is, how do you even begin to chase that dream when you're dealing with this reality every single day? Okay, let's look at another huge national ambition, the Dangote refinery. Now, this isn't just any old project.
This was supposed to be the magic bullet, a multi-billion-dollar answer to Nigeria's chronic fuel problems. The idea was this one refinery would solve all the issues with importing fuel and the constant shortages just gone. But, well, here's the risk when you put all your hopes on one magic bullet. All it takes is one technical problem to set off this huge domino effect. A crucial part of the refinery has to shut down for months. And what happens next? Suddenly, the whole country could be facing fuel shortages. The threat of higher prices looms. It just piles another massive burden on people who are already struggling.
So when you step back and look at the whole picture, you see these incredible paradoxes at the heart of Nigeria's daily life. You have a country literally fighting to keep its children from starving, while at the same time, it's reaching for this huge spot on the world stage. You have a nation locked in a brutal conflict, while its great symbol of industrial hope is, well, faltering. And this quote from the source material, it just cuts right to the heart of it all. It asks, "Giant of Africa weigh no fit feed ye children. No which kind giant be that? A giant of Africa that can't feed its own kids. What kind of giant is that?" I mean, what a powerful, soul-searching question about what really matters. And that's really what it all comes down to, isn't it? There are no easy answers here, obviously, but the fundamental challenge that all these stories point to is one of balance. How does a nation, really any nation, juggle the big essential dreams for tomorrow with the urgent life or death crises of today? That question, that's the real daily pulse of Nigeria.